Good afternoon, and how is everybody doing today? I hope you guys have a great time with my previous video. Now I get to explain myself and with a few instances of the situations that we're going through. Now I'm just going to clarify what my previous video should have been about so that we have a better understanding and I can then move forward with a few things. I did mention a few times that I would be able to talk about my experiences on the ship and those kind of situations and what happened during those instances that I remember when I was there. So my previous video was just stating pretty much that that everything was okay and our situation here on planet Earth has maintained itself in the way that it's going through now, despite all the things that are going on in the world as we speak. That was just clarifying that everything is going to be fine. So I'd like to move on to speak about the things that we were discussing previously, how I promised about my experiences on the ship. My very earliest understanding that, we're here for a special reason and that um, we are bringing about our future selves now forward. Basically, what I'm saying is that we're already living in the future. This is not the past anymore. We're now just going forward. Okay? I know it's a paradox to think about it this way, but yes, this is the future of humanity. This is the now moment that begins what our future will be going forward, the correct path that humanity takes in the future. Okay? So basically, what I'm saying is at some point where there was a reason for us to come back in the past to correct this problem, we're going to realize that that obstacle isn't there anymore, and then we'll just move on to an even better uh, future that we may not even know about in that future. Right? We'll be taking the right path when that time comes. So it's a paradoxical thing to understand, and I don't want to confuse you too much. I'm going to just deliver as simple as concise as I can. So going back to me visiting the ship and my earliest experience that I thought of when I remembered it, um, I was about 14 years old, and I was extremely happy for personal reasons. I'll explain to someone in the future about that. Um, or in a future video. But basically, what happened was that I was extremely happy, and because of that, I was that night when I went to bed. I remember wanting to go back to where that feeling felt, how it felt for me in that feeling. So I went and I saw in the distance an etheric city, etheric, the ethers. It was it, it, it wasn't light, but it was shiny and bright. Okay, if you look at a lens and you reflect the light off a lens, you would see that there's different in within white light there are different colors: pink, yellow, blue, red, green, and these colors aren't as bright as the sun when they're all put together. But let's just say that the etheric city was shining with these kind of colors, and they were they didn't hurt your eyes, but they looked very pleasing to be around. It was just energy. So what I'm saying is, all right. So I remember swimming because it felt like I was in water. I remember swimming there. Felt like it was plasma around the area to get to that etheric city. There was a path or a journey to get through to that city, and I think we just had a power outage. And when I got there, and right before I was in the entrance, these two guards came and they had a scepter in their hands, a three-pointed scepter in their hands, each one of them, and they just kind of stood there in front of me as I was trying to get there. They were standing right in front of me and they said, "You have to go back. You can't come here, right? You have to come back." But that was the feeling of what I felt of wanting to go back home at that time, at that age, and when the positive experience with me happened. And ever since that moment, whenever I reached a certain level of awareness or understanding, there would be a negative force that would push against that positive energy in a way that it locked the 3D grid that we were on in place. Now, because I'm saying earlier, as I mentioned, that we are already in the present moment, that obstacle that we had that pushed and kept the 3D grid together is no longer there anymore. So we are living in the beginning of the future selves that that has started, okay? And I'm not gonna say when that started, but it started. I know when, but it started, and then we got to the point of where we are now, which is great. Now you get to feel these positive, real good energies that are around you, and if you focus on this, then you'll achieve just an even greater awakening process all to yourself. Which leads me to then an experience. It wasn't me on the ship, but it was very significant to say because I remember something that we were being told in a very special place about the Lyran Promise, right? The Lyran Promise was made that humanity will be saved and that we will have the freedoms that we ask for, and there won't be any interruptions or anything put in place that would obstruct that um, the goal, right? The purpose. So that's going to happen. And when I felt this energy was right before everyone was staying home permanently, and I was at home, and through my third eye, I saw this being 12 foot tall with a lion head, a very lion looking head. And he was standing there and he said that his name was Ishalvora. And that means the protector of Ra. So this being said that we're going to be living in the kind of world where we deserve to be as humanity and as we journey towards this purpose of liberating humanity in general. So I'm just mentioning this because it was part of an experience that I had and it wasn't exactly on the ship. Now, this next one is something that was on the ship. It was energy that I felt. So I was on the ship and I was there with a woman that was escorting me. And this woman was, she had brown hair. She had kind of, my complexion. And she had a blue jumpsuit. They all have jumpsuits. And she was showing me around everywhere I went. So we went through a cargo bay area. We went through a sort of bridge that connected one side to the other, and in the background there was these pods, and there in the center was a some sort of hole that connected to the top, and it looked sort of like an elevator. I don't know if I can explain that too well. And we went over to the command center where they piloted the ship. Across from that, there were the sleeping quarters, and there were like a conference room. And I have memories of specifically what happened in the sleeping quarters as we were approaching there. And I remember the conversations that we had in the conference room when we were there, and we had the most amazing experience that we could ever even imagine there. But I'll leave that for another video. I am actually going to write this down so I can better explain it in my own words and not have to just kind of not have to talk about it specifically like this. But in any case, this person, what I can remember about the fifth dimensional experience, which is why I'm just saying this part of the story. The other parts don't include much of this, but this woman was there. She had her brown hair, and I remember sitting down, and there's these other beings next to me. There's a mantid looking like being. There's one that looks like a polar bear. There was an ant being. There were different types of. There weren't just Pleiadian human looking like people. They were there, and they were just hanging around. Reminds me of that bar scene in Star Wars with Han Solo has his he has a bar scene, something like that. But there were very much less people, and I don't remember having any drinks. In any case, this woman comes up to me, which is the same woman that was introducing me around the ship, just kind of saying, "Hey, let's have you meet everybody." And she had this blue jumpsuit, and I looked at her, and then she looked at me back, and I think she said something like, "Don't you like this blue jumpsuit?" And it was just like it's like she read my mind, and I was maybe just thinking something like, blue, okay, blue. All right, and then she just immediately came back, and her jumpsuit was brown. Like she changed she just stepped away for a second and came back, and she had a brown jumpsuit, and she said something like, "Do you like this one?" And the way I can tell if it's a the fifth dimensional experience is because we, you know, it, the way it happened, it was mental focus. It was It's where you keep your attention where things happen. So the fifth dimensional is like the picture that you get of neurons. One neuron, shines, and it connects to the other, and it makes this kind of daisy chain of connection of neurons as you're having thoughts or ideas or visualizing or dreaming or thinking or eating. Certain parts of the brain activate. So a fifth dimensional experience felt to me like that. Unless one individual isn't exactly thinking about the other in a way, then it doesn't they don't make that kind of connection, right? So because I had the thought of this individual, me not specifically thinking about her color blue, it automatically triggered a response of her just saying that, well, then let me just change this blue to brown in that case. So, what holds the fifth dimensional together is that the whole collective of neurons, specifically, if you think of it as a brain, is connected within the same frequency of thought. And I hope that's not too difficult to explain or not too hard to understand. But in any case, that's my experience. I like to leave the video like this. I want to know what happened with this electricity problem that they have here at home. Totally unexpected. But I leave you with that. I hope you guys have a great day. There's two more stories that I'm going to talk about, and these are going to be very interesting because I'm going to put these down in writing and hopefully get as better or as much detail as I can gather so that you guys have an idea of the sort of future that's for everybody. And I hope this clarifies a little more of the things that I go through. Okay? I hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your evening or afternoons. And I hope to talk to you soon.